I had been working at Foot Locker for a while when it happened. I always worked the closing shift at night. I would see and greet customers and assist them whenever they needed. I also had to prevent shoplifters and keep an eye out for sketchy people. It wasn't a bad gig for a retail job. The pay was decent, and the job wasn't very hard. The place was honestly pretty slow, so it was usually just me and a female coworker that worked nights. I really didn't have any complaints at all. That is, until one night. I was working the closing shift again with my female coworker, and it was getting late. It had been an easy day, and there were only a couple of customers still browsing around. Then I saw this creepy incel-looking guy walk into the store. The guy was in his 20s and reeked of pot. Something about him just made him seem sketchy and up to no good.
Ooh, look at those LeBron 19s. Man, I can't wait to dip my feet inside those. I wonder if these smell like him.
I had a bad feeling as soon as I saw him. I watched him for a few minutes. The guy looked around everywhere, but he didn't buy anything. I asked the guy if he needed any help, but he refused. He really didn't seem like he wanted me around. He still looked sketchy to me, so I kept my eye on the guy. He looked around for a few more minutes, and then he left. I figured the guy must have been stoned off his ass and didn't know what he was doing, so I put him out of my mind and just got back to work. The strange thing was that the same thing continued to happen every other week. The same guy would show up later in the night and walk around the store for a while. He never bought anything. He just looked around and then left. It was really weird. Every time I saw him, I was reminded of how creepy he looked, but he never really did anything that justified that thought. I just assumed he was window shopping as usual. One night, I was working with the same female coworker and the store wasn't busy at all. We were pretty late into our shift, and I was looking forward to going home. Then I saw the same creepy guy walk in. I decided that I was really going to keep an eye on him that night. I didn't want to judge, but something about this guy just didn't sit right with me. I watched him from a distance as he looked around. I didn't know if it was possible, but the guy looked even creepier that night. His eyes were sunken in, and his face was gaunt and expressionless. He still reeked of pot too. He went back and forth between the different aisles, not really stopping to look at anything for too long. The guy eventually wandered into the clothing aisle and started looking through the racks. It seemed like he was trying to hide from the staff. I didn't want to look like a stalker or harass customers, but I decided that I'd better check in that instance. I walked around to get a better view of the aisle, and that's when I saw the guy stuffing clothes into his pants.
Hey, stop right there!
I ran at the guy and told him that I was calling the cops for him stealing. The guy froze for a second, and then he tried to make a run for it. I then grabbed the guy's arm and tried to hold him, but he wouldn't stop trying to break free.
Help! Somebody help me stop this guy! He's a thief!
I kept screaming, but the only other person was my female coworker. She ran to call security while the guy and I fought each other. The guy was not about to give up, and he and I went at it. All I was trying to do was hold him until the cops arrived, but he was way stronger than he looked. He threw me up against the clothes rack and started sprinting for the door. Just as he was about to leave, I lunged at him and grabbed his legs. I then pulled him to the floor, and we wrestled around.
You're not getting away with this, you dipshit!
The guy kept fighting me like an animal, and I didn't know how much longer I was going to be able to hold him. He was a complete lunatic. We rolled around on the floor, wrestling back and forth. Then finally, he stopped fighting me and let me pin him down. I was exhausted, and I couldn't believe that I had won. Now all I had to do was hold him there until the cops could take him away. I sat on top of the guy, panting out of breath. Then out of nowhere, the guy pulled out a knife and stabbed me in the neck. He then pushed me off of him and ran out of the store. I panicked and flailed about on the floor as I felt the blood flowing from my neck. I thought I was going to die. I lay there on the floor, not moving. I felt like I was going to black out at any second, but I watched as the staff from the other stores came running out to apprehend the guy. They somehow managed to grab him and get the knife away before he hurt anyone else. Security arrived a few seconds later and arrested the guy. I've been traumatized by that night ever since. It was some time before I was able to go back to work, and even then, I felt nervous every time I saw a new customer. Some nights I could have sworn that I actually saw the guy again, and each of those times, I could feel his cold blade piercing into my neck. This story was inspired by a horrific Foot Locker incident regarding a young man working at one of Winnipeg's busiest shopping centers who was pierced in the neck while trying to stop a shoplifter on Thursday evening, witnesses say. The employee was working at the Foot Locker store on the second floor of Polo Park Mall when he confronted a male trying to steal several articles of clothing. Melvina Guibaucher and her husband, Dakota Guibaucher, were paying for purchases at the store when they heard an employee yelling that someone had been caught shoplifting. They say the situation was calm at first, with employees blocking each of the store's 2 exits while they waited for security to arrive. But Dakota said that all changed when the alleged shoplifter pulled out a knife and tried to make a break for it. He says he saw the suspect hit the victim in the neck with the weapon as he tried to get out of the store. The couple says employees were able to disarm the attacker and hold him until security arrived. Police say they were called around 8:30 p.m. to the mall and arrested the suspect. The victim was taken to the hospital in unstable condition, but has since been upgraded to stable. The suspect was charged with robbery and the attack,